Hi y'all, and welcome back to the garden. So today I want to talk to you about some mistakes I've made this season and how I'm never going to let those happen again. And one was all of the weeds I showed you in the last video. So there's a few things that cause that, and I've discovered what that was. Now, you can use things such as Preen or a professional product called Snapshot. I have never used those products, and if you are using those products, I just want you to be aware and make sure you're reading the label, because if you garden with any plants similar to what I plant, you need to read the label to make sure those plants won't be damaged by Preen, and hydrangeas specifically are one of those plants. So if you've been putting Preen down on your garden, this is about education, not getting on to you for it. I just want you to make sure you're reading the label of anything you use, organic or inorganic, so you're not causing damage to your plants. It's all about education. So this week I've spent 3 full afternoons so far pulling crabgrass out of this garden, and I'm not quite done yet. I'm going to wrap it up tonight, and let's talk a little bit about the things that led to this situation. So you can see how much better it looks. I've gone through a lot of the beds. I probably got like 85% of it pulled. I need to come back and pull some other tiny pieces that I didn't get the first time. After pulling so much, you go a little weed blind, but as walking around here, I can see a few things. And this is my pile of crabgrass over here, and I piled it up, and I'm going to take it to the backyard and probably burn it. I wanted it to suffer because it's made me suffer, so I've let it sit in the sun all week and bake to teach it a lesson, because it caused me a lot of pain this week. It looks a whole lot better in this garden bed so far, so you can see kind of the views that I'm going for now a little better now that it's mostly all pulled up. The layers that I've tried to incorporate and everything, it's only the end of June, so everything is just now really kicking into growth. So let's get in the shade and talk about this a little bit. The reason I've never had this many weeds in a garden bed, so let's talk about some of the reasons why this may have happened. So first of all, this is a brand new garden space, and it was previously almost entirely grass last year, and I covered it with cardboard and contractor's paper in areas where I didn't have cardboard, and put mulch on top of it. I planted a few things last year, and where the crabgrass was coming up was all around the places that I planted. Now, there was not much coming up around the things I planted last year, because some of those things I planted and put mulch on top of. And so I know it is the existing soil in this case that brought in the crabgrass. Now, I don't have a whole lot of crabgrass in the actual yard out here. And I haven't treated this yard or anything, and I doubt the previous owner treated it. So what it tells me is there is a proliferation of crabgrass seeds in the ground under the soil that haven't been given a chance to germinate. And when I planted all of these perennials earlier this season and annuals, I used my auger, which churned up the dirt and brought dirt onto the surface. And that's where the crabgrass seeds germinated. Now, my intention was to get mulch down quicker. The amount of mulch I need for this bed in bulk was pretty expensive, and I wanted to use actual aged mulch here instead of wood chips, just so this front bed is the nice, really developed bed, and I'm using wood chips elsewhere in the garden because it's cheaper and looks a little more rustic. So I tried to put off that expense a little while. And when I got around to wanting to get it, the tractor broke down and needed service. Now, the tractor just ended up being a rusty wire, but they kept the tractor for 3 weeks. And then I got the tractor back right before I went to Oregon, which I was gone a week that time. And when I come back, crabgrass had kind of taken hold, and then we had a week of heat wave, and I was not getting out in the garden during that week. It would have been dangerous to really work outside at the temperatures and humidity we were having, which really sped up the process of that crabgrass. I will never let my beds get in that position again. I will come through with a mower and a chainsaw and cut everything down before I let that happen again. It has cost me an entire week of work that I could have been working elsewhere trying to pull this crabgrass up. Now the things I use to weed this garden bed from crabgrass, I started out just using this like snakehead weeder looking thing. And this is really helpful for the bigger ones that can't come off very easily. I had a lot around the actual plantings I made, so I had to use this in some instances. But where it was like not so much around the plant, I use the rogue hoe, which this saved my life this past week. You slide it across the ground, it's really sharp, and it just cuts the crabgrass off right below the base of the plant, and then all you have left is the top, and you can pick it up, and all the tops are sitting right there. This was all probably compounded by the fact that I didn't get drip irrigation in time either, and so I was overhead watering, which meant the whole area was getting saturated with water, which led to more crabgrass seed germinating. But primarily, if I had come in initially and put down the mulch after planting, that wouldn't have happened. So now I know in the future as well, if I'm digging in this bed outside of the regular season, I need to save some mulch or grab some mulch immediately and come mulch around the plant that I planted, because if I don't, then I'll have a bunch of crabgrass coming up. Now you can tell here where these wood chips are, this is the area I haven't gotten to yet. So I've weeded everything over here almost except here, and there's not actually a whole lot of crabgrass in this new bed that I established. There's some here down at the bottom and a few other weeds I gotta dig here and there, but this side doesn't look so bad. So I'm gonna finish this afternoon once it cools off a little bit more, and then I'm gonna try and mulch this entire bed over this coming weekend. Hopefully I can get it done, although it's supposed to be really warm this weekend, and over the coming week, pieces at a time. I have not been able to find the grass to replace right here yet, so this is a pretty big bare area. I want to show you a few things I picked up though this week at 𝗟𝗶𝗸𝗲, a local garden center I went by during lunch while I was at work, and I saw some beautiful plants. And I've been wanting a ginkgo, and I've thought about a tree ginkgo like Princeton Century, which is very upright ginkgo that doesn't get massively wide. But I settled on this one to replace the little Japanese maple here. So this is a small dwarf ginkgo. I think it's called Marinkin or something similar to that. And it gets roughly 3 by 3. So it'll fill in the space really nicely. I need to get a little water. It's been really warm today and the drip irrigation did run, but since this was just planted and it's used to being in greenhouse conditions and getting much more water, it would probably be much happier. So we come along this way. I found this gorgeous Tough Stuff Red mountain hydrangea from Proven Winners. Now they discontinued this variety, so I imagine this hydrangea was left over from a year or so ago, given how big it is. So this one gets about 3 foot tall and wide as well, and it is already over halfway there. Like, I was impressed with the size of this alone, and that's why I got it. Also this week I had a little bit of issues with my drip irrigation. All of these plants are obviously new. You've been here with me on this journey. And before I left for Oregon, I turned on weather delays for all of these zones. I love the Beehive, the Orbit Beehive drip irrigation system. I haven't got in my valves yet. That's gonna have to be a fall project now that it's gotten so warm. But the weather system that they use to determine whether your drip irrigation runs is not great. So if there's a percentage of chance of rain, which you can adjust and fiddle with some, but it's not very local is what I'm trying to get at. So it could rain down the street and I not get any rain here and my drip irrigation won't run. So over the past week, my drip irrigation failed to run several days, although we did get some pretty good substantial rain, including this bed here failed to run, and this container, when I got home yesterday, I looked at it and it looked awful. It hadn't ran for almost 3 days and I hadn't realized it because it had been warm and I'd been tending to the crabgrass here. And that's just, if you have drip irrigation, I'm just telling you this because just because you have drip irrigation, it is not set it and forget it. You still need to check on your plants. Every day, if it's really hot, every few days, just don't set it and leave it and expect it to be working correctly for you, because it may not be. That being said, the Beehive system's still one of the best I've seen and tried as far as irrigation timers. It's really reliable when it works. And so what I've done now since I had this issue is I've turned off the weather delay completely. So even if we might get a little rain, the drip's still gonna run. And it's kind of important for this bed anyway, because we've got overhang here. So if you have beds that have overhang from the roof around them, they're probably not getting a whole lot of water anyway. So even if it does rain, you probably want to give those some water. But just look how large some of these things are getting with the heat wave that we had. The 𝗟𝗶𝗸𝗲 are massive. They've gotten even bigger since I showed you last time. The phlox, the short phlox, this is 𝗟𝗶𝗸𝗲 dots, came into bloom right here, and it's really gorgeous and doing just what I wanted it to do. Nice little drift. These alliums, serendipity alliums, are not quite blooming yet. We got the purple fountain grass is getting really large here. Everything is just looking really good and coming together nicely, and it'll look that much better after I get mulch on it this week. So before I get mulch, I'm gonna finish cleaning the weeds. I'm gonna take some drone footage of this bed for my purposes, because I wanna know where the drip irrigation is, because I have two different systems in this bed, two different zones. I'm gonna go through and highlight where the tubing is for zone 1 basically and zone 2, because most of this area here is on zone 1, but zone 1 does creep up into this area here, and then zone 2 covers this entire Hooker River and the back side of this bed down here. So it's a bit of a mix here in the center, and I want to make sure I get some good visuals on this area of the bed, so if I ever want to tie in anything in the future, or I need to adjust anything, I'll know where the lines run around the plants to make those adjustments easier. Now, I want to show you a couple more plants I got that I'm excited about, and then I want to introduce you to someone. Our grass is getting really crispy because it's going into hibernation, basically trying to protect itself from the heat, because we've had a little bit of rain, but it has been way too hot to not have more rain than we have. So if you see the grass turning brown, I don't have overhead irrigation on the grass. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense given how much grass I have right now. So it'll just go into hibernation mode for a little bit, and when this temperature's cool, it'll come back out and turn green again. All right, we're at the shrub bay. At 𝗟𝗶𝗸𝗲 yesterday, I picked up this blue shadow fothergilla, which I had at the last garden. These are prone to reverting back to their green, and their leaves, if you rub them, it's that blue that changes color if you rub them back to green. It's like a powder. So don't rub them. But I got this one to go along the fence, the shrub line of the fence, after I get mulch down in that area, and that's what I'm going to turn to after I finish mulching the front garden bed, is behind the fence. And I really love it. It gets 8 by 8, or it can. I'm not sure that it might here, but it's a beautiful shrub and a beautiful color. The second thing I picked up, which I've not grown rhododendrons in years, because the first one that I planted probably 5 or more years ago died on me. Rhododendrons like acidic soil. We have kind of basic soil here, or high pH soil. And so I'm going to do a lot of amending to the bed that I'm going to plant this in, and it's also going to go around the fence with a lot of peat and other items that will hold some of that acidity more for it, hopefully, and maybe it'll be happy. But I was just impressed, like, this is a 3-gallon plant. Look how big this plant is. And this is a Proven Winners variety called Dandy Man Color Wheel, and I got it because I've never seen it locally. And I was just kind of on a mission to find interesting plants that I don't see that often. And so everyone that I picked up is a little different. Check out this delicious, it's not black, I don't buy dyed mulch, I just get natural aged mulch without dyes in it. But it's really good, almost to the extent of compost. So I'm hoping this is enough to cover the front garden bed. I'm not going to be doing a very extremely thick layer because I put down a ton of mulch in that area last year, just enough to provide some even appearance to the bed and also cover the drip lines and that such thing. So really excited about how that bed will look when this gets on top of it. And let's turn the camera to my new friend, Tony. So Tony's been working real hard, and I'm testing him out to do a video on in a couple more weeks. And I want to know what y'all's thoughts are, what questions you might have, so I can address them all in the video. This is the 𝗟𝗶𝗸𝗲 by Motion Tech, and it has cut almost every day over the past 1.5 weeks I've had it. Except for the days it rained, because it does have a rain sensor and you really shouldn't run them at night. You can see how dirty it is probably, but it's doing a really spectacular job. So today it's been cutting this area so far. I mapped it to go around the cut flower field or cut flower garden. Earlier today it's been cutting in front of the barn. It has done a really spectacular job, and you can actually see stripes here of how nice it's looking. I've been cutting these back areas because I wanted to give it some time and make sure it's using its boundaries appropriately that have been set before I let it loose around a lot of my flowers. But honestly, I have been super impressed with it so far, and it's finished every job that I've successfully set it up for since I've had it the past 1.5 weeks. So I'm going to continue testing it over the next couple weeks, and let me know your questions, what you might have about it, so I can answer them in the video I'm going to shoot, but it's doing a really nice job. I'm really excited about Tony because I looked at those a couple years ago and looked at them a lot after we bought this property, because it's just a lot to cut and it takes a long time to cut the grass. And this bot will cut half of my property for me, and it'll be constantly the height that I want it, and I won't have to worry about it. It'll just do it for me. So let me know what your questions might be, and I'll enjoy shooting that video and providing a review, because I love a good review video, because I'm a connoisseur and frequenter of review videos, because I like, whenever I'm gonna put money into something, I just go watch reviews about it first. All right, one more view of the bed behind me before we call this a video. I'm probably going to slow down shooting videos over the next couple weeks. This one's been a little while since I've shot one. Sorry for the delay, but blame the crabgrass. I'm going to try and get a lot of stuff done before it gets too hot. So I'm going to still try and shoot a video a week if I can, instead of 2 a week. So just bear with me. We'll be back to regular programming after I get some of these tasks accomplished as soon as I can. Thank y'all for joining me on this garden walk, and remember, be a light. Take care.